I just watched the trailer for Avatar 3. And trust me when I say, you have got no idea what's about to come. While watching the trailer, it got me thinking that why was Avatar so successful at that point of time when it released? And then, 12 years later, how it repeated the same success. So let's talk about it. The year was around 1997 when James Cameron just released Titanic. And we all know that what kind of a massive impact Titanic had on the entire world cinema. Even somebody staying in India like me, it had a massive impact, and the entire cultural conversation around the late 90s became about Titanic. And it almost became the cornerstone for careers of Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio. But the sprawling success of Titanic, what it also did was, it made somebody like James Cameron almost like a household name for every cinephile in the world at that point of time. But after that, there was a massive conversation that what is going to be James Cameron's next film. We literally had to wait 12 years, an entire generation, for the next film to come, and that was 2009 Avatar. It was something very weird. We had seen nothing of that kind of sort. Now, of course, by then, films like King Kong, by then, films like Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the first few parts of Harry Potter had already released. However, when James Cameron released Avatar in 2009, it did a couple of things. One was, it literally made 3D films and 3D viewing essential for a film like that. 3D was a technology which was basically in its infancy, and specifically for blockbuster filmmaking, it was never considered as a part of the art or for cinema culture. What James Cameron did and how his team approached Avatar differently was, they shot it in 3D. By then, films were limited to be shot in 35mm and in film cameras, but they were only shot in 2D format. And later, in post-production, they were converted to 3D. James Cameron became one of the first filmmakers to adopt 3D. For that, they literally developed a camera technology known as fusion camera. What James Cameron did was, he developed a fusion camera technology which was so revolutionary at that point of time. And that technology and motion tracking technology, which we, by the way, have seen or heard about it in the marketing campaigns of films like Adipurush, Ravan, a film like Fan. The context is that it changed filmmaking completely. It changed our perception of the box office and how much a film really can make. And it changed the way that we view films in the biggest of theaters. I do not think that 3D technology or even a format like IMAX would have been what it is right now without a film like Avatar. That when in 2009, Avatar released, it changed the perception of blockbuster filmmaking completely. It also changed how we view box office and the numbers that we view. Let's talk about the box office and the huge success of it. When Titanic released, it became the first film to gross $2 billion. Just for context, 2 billion is more than 20,000 crores in Indian rupees. Now just imagine a film taking 12 years to make. The next film that he did after Titanic was Avatar. In 2009, Avatar grossed more than $2.7 billion. There was no film, absolutely no one, which literally came close to Avatar. Now just for context, as much as we love films like The Dark Knight and as much of a huge success the films of the Dark Knight trilogy was, The Dark Knight grossed almost $1 billion or more than $1 billion. The Dark Knight Rises in 2012 grossed more than $1 billion. Just for context, Avengers, the first one, grossed $1.5 billion. But Avatar came completely out of the blue. Pun intended, by the way. When Titanic released, it grossed more than $2 billion. And that was the highest at that point of time. The next highest grossing film in world cinema was Avatar, that was in 2009. Just imagine the amount of success that these two films have given to James Cameron. And was this success not deserved? I would say absolutely. Now let's talk about why Avatar became so successful. Now there has been criticism of Avatar over its simplistic story. Along with, there has been accusations of a complete rip-off of Dance with the Wolves. However, we need to understand one thing, that simplistic story and human emotions are something which connect to a deeper audience and it penetrates any borders. Now, I've seen this kind of perception, especially among American viewers, that Star Wars, something which is so popular in US, is not really that popular in a Asia or an Indian context. We need to understand that. But a film like Avatar is so popular because it touches the basic human psychology, touches the basic human emotions that a film can touch. Now let's talk about Avatar 1 a bit. What it did was, it opened up a conversation, of course, about its technology, about its mesmerizing visuals, of course. However, it also opened up a conversation about preservation of nature. And how many films in world cinema history can we name that has started a conversation like that? Also, can you believe that beyond the meme circles of internet, there was literally something called an after depression syndrome? If you don't believe me, check this clip out.
I woke up this morning after watching Avatar for the first time yesterday. The world seemed gray. It was like my whole life, everything I've done and worked for, lost its meaning. In layman's terms, they see this movie, and especially if they see it in 3D, they're really feeling it, and then their world is not this, so that's what's leading to the depression, in a nutshell?
It is, indeed, and I think the depression is widespread enough that it is an actual phenomenon.
Literally something which is covered in detail in 2009, and it happened once again in 2022 as well. I remember when Avatar 2 was announced, it was literally a perception amongst many audiences that it will never be able to replicate that amount of success that Avatar 1 released. It was a once in a blue moon kind of a thing. But when Avatar 2 released, it completely obliterated the box office once again. Post a pandemic world, it became the first and right now the only film to gross more than $2 billion. And right now, it is the third highest grossing film of all time. Now, to understand the huge amount of success, we need to understand James Cameron and his brilliant and his genius mind. First of all, I'm sure many of you haven't heard about a film called The Abyss. That was a film which released in the early 90s. It wasn't a huge sprawling success like his later films would do. However, what that film did was, it changed the way visual effects are run, and it changed the way how water effects are being made in Hollywood. What James Cameron did was, he built a massive pool by himself. He built a massive tanker beyond which he shot the complete film. And when he shot Titanic, he literally went to the deepest point of the earth, which is the Mariana Trench, and he also visited the Titanic wrecking site. Just imagine the amount of dedication. He almost built a replica of the Titanic, and Titanic became one of the most expensive films at that point of time. Before Titanic release, there was various articles being flung in Hollywood that it was the stupidest decision that a studio has ever taken. But how wrong they were. Before Titanic, before The Abyss, there was a Terminator. In the current times, when we are talking more and more about AI, artificial intelligence, or some kind of robotic stuff, sometimes it literally feels that Terminator at that point of time almost saw the future. Just imagine the amount of relevance a film like Terminator still has. Now, apart from box office, Cameron has also got massive success in connecting the box office numbers along with prestige value. His last three films, Titanic, Avatar, Avatar 2, all three films, almost 30 years apart, have all been nominated for the best film of that year in the Academy Awards.
I'm the king of the world!
Now, the sprawling success of Avatar not only gives us an insight into the genius mind of James Cameron, but it also gives us another reassurance about simplistic filmmaking. Simplistic filmmaking and the tones which are universal, emotions which are universal. When Avatar 2 released, there was a lot of naysayers that this film will not be that amount of successful. However, Avatar 2 in fact was, according to many, was a better film at that. The emotions were better. The father emotions that they literally hit connected with a lot of fathers in this world. I've seen parents literally watching that film 3 to 4 times in the theaters. And going by the rushes of Avatar 3, it definitely seems that he will replicate the success once again. And it's not just an international success. Even in India, Avatar 2 right now is the highest grossing Hollywood film of all time, breaking Avengers Endgame's record. And who can say that when the third part released, it will not gross more than Avatar 2? The only sad part is, sometimes I wonder, we could have got so many more films, so many different kind of films with James Cameron if he wasn't so dedicated for Avatar. I'm glad he did Avatar, but we could have got so much more. Also, a minor tidbit, James Cameron was really interested to direct a Spider-Man film. Just imagine James Cameron doing a Spider-Man film.
See you, chump.